Hey everyone, second channel Ram here, and welcome to the first episode of month of EVO. And in this episode, we'll be talking about the best new modern fighting game, Street Fighter 6.
Street Fighter 6.
So for if you didn't watch the video, go watch the video of what I'm gonna do for this month and every episode. But basically, each month, I mean each day of this month, I'll be talking about a different fighting game. Just kind of briefing over it, giving the little lore I know about it and all that. My opinions, the pros and cons of it, comparing it to other games. And yeah, so today we have my new favorite, well, my favorite fighting game of the new gen, Street Fighter 6. So, if you don't know, Street Fighter 6 is the latest installment in the Street Fighter franchise. I don't think I need to tell you that, or any of that obvious information, but so, what makes Street Fighter 6 so great? Well, compared to every other iteration of this game. So, Street Fighter 6 has brand new mechanics that are very new from what I know compared to everything else in the Street Fighter franchise. We have things like Drive Rush, things like Parry, which I think Parry was in Third Strike. Or Street Fighter 3. It could have been in other games too, but that's the one I'm thinking of. Then we have things like Perfect Parry as well. The counter drive impact, I think is what it's called. And yeah, all these new defensive mechanics. Out of all Street Fighter games, I think Street Fighter 6 is the most defense heavy, which is another reason why it's very great. You have all these different ways you can block, survive, all that kind of stuff. 6, it's just very defense heavy, and if you look at a game like one of the previous versions, like Street Fighter 4, that's the only one I know a lot of just off memory. The most defense thing you can do is, besides blocking, is also focus attack, which compared to this and Street Fighter 6, it's just better. Drive impact is way better than focus attack. Defense wise, it's more safe. It's sort of more safer, but yeah. So I feel like a lot of people going to Street Fighter 6 are probably going to be a bit not as hype, and that's kind of what I've learned online, is that Street Fighter 5 was not a big hit, and so Street Fighter 6 was probably not going to have a good rep off rip, but there's been numerous things showing that Street Fighter 6 has proven us wrong. So, yeah. I feel like the most popular out of all the 6 games is probably all the even numbers. Like number 1, it was like the intro to Street Fighter, so it wasn't as big. Street Fighter 2 is probably the biggest Street Fighter game in general. Street Fighter 3, I know all these new characters probably threw people off, and all the complete 360 on Street Fighter might have not been the best. Street Fighter 4 brought everyone back. Street Fighter 5 was really iffy, and then Street Fighter 6 is booming, so yeah. So, let's go into some of the design-wise about how different it is. For starters, I feel like Street Fighter 6 is a very simple but very clean-looking game. Like, it just looks kind of simple, but it also has a unique art style that's very different compared to the rest of Street Fighters before. Like, it's almost like a completely new series, almost, how different it looks. All the characters look completely different. Like, from 1 to 5, I feel like Ryu, for example, he looked kind of the same all throughout. He just has some like physical features that were different. Like in Street Fighter 5, he kind of looked more ripped, I guess you'd say. In Alpha, he looks younger, and yeah, that's kind of how it is. In 4, 5, 2, he counts the same. but then in Street Fighter 6, it's a 360 turn. He looks all old, kind of like a master side of the deal, and that's kind of what everyone who's from the older games are in Street Fighter 6 look like. Like, it's a completely different game almost. Street Fighter 6 came out recently. It's just in its first year anniversary. It came out in June 2023. We actually, personally, I pre-ordered it on the Xbox. And yeah, so I was really hyped. And it lived up to the hype. Now, one of the other main features that kind of separates Street Fighter from other fighting games is a world tour system. It never had anything like this before from what I've seen. I know Tekken sort of does something like that, and I've noticed Soul Calibur does something like that, but I feel like World Tour might have the best version of that. You get to go to different masters or characters, learn our art styles, kind of make your own character, kind of like the Mii Brawler feature in Smash, but better. Like, there's a whole world for them and stuff like that. It's a completely different new mode too. Like Street Fighter 5, for example, I feel like the missions might have been the thing where you can get fighter coins. Like, that was like a new kind of mode, and like it was mostly online heavy. There was also the story mode, but again, it wasn't as in depth and cool as the Street Fighter 6 World Tour. Something else that Street Fighter 6 is doing new compared to the rest of the Street Fighter iterations is bringing guest characters into it, which technically guest characters because we've had some in the before, like Final Fight characters, Rival School characters, other Capcom games in Street Fighter games. That's kind of like same company kind of deal. This year too, we will be getting 2 new third-party characters, I guess they call, which are Terry Bogard and Mai from SNK Fatal Fury. So that's also something that's really different in the whole franchise, which I'm really excited for personally. I don't like Terry and Mai are my favorite characters, but it's still exciting to see them in there. I'll probably play them for this channel, but yeah, that's what's a different thing. Also, as obvious reasons, another pro of Street Fighter 6 is how smooth the game feels, movement-wise, like visually, like different features, how everything's so quick. It's just a very like good-looking and very good-feeling game. That's kind of another reason I like really get into it. It's just it's like so feels so nice to play. Such a smooth game, such a good-looking game. Like, wow, there's so much details in it, and it's just in the most smallest things, from just characters moving, how their clothes interact, how the background is, how stages are, World Tour. There's so many things in World Tour. Like, there's not a dead area. There's like everything's filled. Everybody can talk to. Like, it's such a good game, man. Give a bunch of pros and all that, but I'm gonna talk about some cons, which are not critical. I don't feel like, well, at least to me, I don't feel like these cons are bringing the game down. I just like little things, and it's more like a personal opinion kind of cons, because yeah, that's what I think. Because I feel like this game has very little cons. For starters, this is kind of subjective, but I think that the music game in Street Fighter 6 is like not compared to all previous, because I feel like it's kind of slacking. Like, they're good, there's a lot of good soundtracks, don't get me wrong, but compared to the iconic music and other previous Street Fighter games, I feel like this is like the least thing, like kind of the least pop. Like, I can't remember a song that well, like personally, but that's just me maybe. There's bangers, I won't lie, but I feel like compared to every other game before, there's like a bit more good music in there. Kind of, but this also could be opinion based as well, that the story in Street Fighter 6 is a little too vague in my opinion. And like, everybody has a story mode in the game. You can learn about them, do different things, fight different opponents, all that stuff. But in that story mode, I feel like all of them leave off on cliffhangers that aren't explored that well. Like, Street Fighter 5 has a story mode, and I feel like Street Fighter 6 could have had that. But at the same time, if you go play World Tour, you learn a little bit more about each character. But I feel like the arcade mode should have explained a bit more as well. Well, here's a perfect example of that before I get Kate. M. Bison recently came out, and his whole thing is that he has amnesia. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't know who he is. He's just kind of homeless guy. They don't explain, in the arcade mode, why he's alive in the first place. He's supposed to be dead. Why he has amnesia? Who brought him back to life? Well, what? I feel like they should have gave more context for there. And my brother, he plays Bison in World Tour, and you learn more about him, but you kind of still don't know why some of these things happen. They don't really explain it all that well. I feel like they should add more. Maybe that's for future characters that are gonna explain why these events are happening. But how I see it now, it's a little of the story lacking. Because in World Tour, you're kind of learning about each master, each character, but there's a consecutive storyline that kind of doesn't really have to do with the old stories. Like the main story of World Tour is not based on fighting Bison or anything like that, like how it was in Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 2. It kind of has its own thing going for itself, where you basically try to become the strongest and go look for Bosch and all that. So it doesn't really tie in with nothing in the past. It's all about going forward, which it's respectable, but I still feel like they should have at least talked about the older characters a bit in detail. But that's like I said, it's not a huge flaw. I just feel like, my personal opinion, there should be more lore for each character, but I don't know. I can only think of more pros. I can't really think of any cons. Thinking of those two, the music and the story, it's very minor. I don't know if I can think of another one. I was thinking of two pros right now, which one of them is moderate controls, which I don't use moderate controls. I use the classic controls, but it's just a really nice touch for new players, and that's probably why a lot of people are getting into Street Fighter now, because it's easier to play than it ever has been, where you have to learn all this stuff, and now modern controls kind of simplify it down, which is very good. So you get to learn how to do cool stuff, but also, you know how to do all this cool stuff with whichever moveset, whichever one skill level, whether you're just starting into fighting games or whether you're a veteran or played multiple games. So that's kind of cool. Before it has the most content-heavy game. For example, obviously Street Fighter 1 and 2 only use arcade mode and fighting each other. Street Fighter 4, you have challenges you can do, and survival, and online, obviously. Same with Street Fighter 5, it's just a story mode and missions. Street Fighter 6 has basically all of that. So we have story mode, combo trials, character guides, which is Street Fighter 5, World Tour, Battle Hub, special fight or something. There's some mode, I forgot what it was called. I never played it. I know there's another mode in the fighting ground. I just didn't remember what it was top of my head. There's clubs in there as well. You can join clubs or something like that and just make friends. It seems like you can talk to people in the Battle Hub. You can fight. You can play other games in Street Fighter 6. There's so many things you can do, whether you don't have online or you have online. You can still have a great time doing it. There's so many things to do, and it's just really nice to see. You can never be bored with this game. There's so much art you can collect just from playing story mode and doing stuff like that. There's so many things you can collect. There's so many things you can see, and recently added music from previous games, so you can grind out drive tickets. It was in-game currency, and just buy those and get cool stuff. It's just a it's a. Can you tell it's my favorite game of all time almost? Like, there's so much pros about Street Fighter 6. Like, oh my gosh. Now, personally, I main Ryu. I've been dabbling with Akuma a bit and Chun-Li, but I just stick with Ryu. I'm at Gold 3 right now, on the road to Platinum, but that's just who I play. I actually went into a competition for when I was at school, and I lost, but ever since then I've gotten better, so hopefully when they bring that up, I will go back and square off people and win that tournament this time, but whatever. That's also another thing, that Street Fighter 6 has tournaments. I don't know if other games have that. I know for sure Guilty Gear doesn't do tournaments like in-game, from what I've seen. Like, it'll be in this list, but yeah. Now Street Fighter 6 is going to be at EVO this year, from what I've seen through the present, when they're announcing games, it seemed like it was going to be at EVO. So, for my hopes, I don't know if they'll do a Terry teaser. That'd be cool. They did do an Aki teaser when EVO happened last year. So maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll show off Terry, and Terry will come out in a few months after, maybe just around the same time, but I don't know. So yeah, this is going to be the second year at EVO. I think that's going to wrap up day 1 of talking about each fighting game per day. There's plenty more in the future of this month, so there's a reason, long story short, there's a reason why Street Fighter 6 won fighting game of the year last year. And probably this year, let's be honest, but that's enough hype glazing for me. If you have the currency, get Street Fighter 6. It's on sale right now as I'm making this video on Steam. I'm not sponsored, I wish I was, but long story short, Street Fighter game is just a great game. Visuals, controls, just everything about it, basically. Even the cons I gave it, they're not bringing the game down. They're still great songs. They're still very interesting stories, especially with the new characters. The con I guess I could give it is that the starting roster was not very big. Like, I feel like other Street Fighters iterations had a bigger roster for starters. I think Street Fighter 4 had like 25 characters. I feel like this one had less. I don't know, I'll have to do counting. But I think it is significantly smaller than it usually is. So hopefully we just get more characters sooner, so the roster can fill up. But I feel like this is a very small starting roster. But even with that, all the characters that did come in are still very cool, very iconic characters. But yeah. Anyways, now it's that's it. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Long story short, amazing game, Street Fighter 6. Very visually appealing, very good feeling playing game, very good. Just it's just a great game, man. I could make a whole day out of this video, but I don't want to keep glazing. That's all I can really do. There's too many things I can talk about. But that was day 1 of EVO, month of EVO. Tomorrow, I don't know which game I'll do. I'm thinking about just going youngest to oldest. So maybe tomorrow I'll do Guilty Gear Strive. I think this is the next one, youngest one I have. So yeah, look forward to that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. See you later.
This is your fave, Eternity, signing off. See ya! And don't forget to like and sub.